Texas State, staying or going? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, we will get to the Bobcats momentarily. We'll do coaching carousel, kind of an overlay, because I'm very good at talking out of both sides of my mouth, which I will do in that segment. And we'll get to the week 4 betting lines. Brought to you by FanDuel, of course. Bobcats now apparently staying in the Sun Belt, the Tulanes, the Memphises, and the UTSAs, for that fact of the matter, all turned down the Pac-12, although Utah State joined the Pac-12. And it just feels like, and I know this is Locked On Sun Belt, but it kind of feels like the Pac-12 is the Mountain West plus Oregon State and Washington State. And as lovely as Corvallis is, Pullman, Washington is not near anything. It is near Idaho. Like, I think Mike Leach actually lived in Idaho when he coached the Cougars. And it just feels like they're rearranging the deck chairs on the Pac-12. Maybe they get more money. I have no idea if they can negotiate some sort of bigger contract. Gonzaga was going to be the Pac-12. I don't think that happened. I'm told Texas State just wants their name out there. I'm not sure why. Again, they've played football there a long time, haven't been all that good for very long. UTSA is already having the San Antonio market, and, San Marcos is right in between San Antonio and Austin, so it pulls a nice market, but it's not in a big city or anything like that. So it is interesting. So it appears that Texas State is staying. So this would be interesting. What does anybody from the AAC jump? Because the AAC are they interested in Texas State? Can the Sun Belt be proactive instead of reactive? And again, I give Keith Gill all the credit in the world because he's done a really good job at putting this together, keeping it together. It didn't break apart at the first opportunity, but that doesn't mean it's not going to break apart at the second opportunity. Is there a chance that he can go after somebody? And we've talked about that, right? Can you get UTSA to jump? The AAC gives more money. Do you get Charlotte to jump? Do, the Cajuns and ULM relent on La Tech? Do you bring them in? Do you bring Western Kentucky back? Can you strengthen the conference without shattering rivalries? Because that's what this is now. This is what we have, right? Like the Cajuns, we've been through this, for the 2+ years I've been doing this. Cajuns don't have a real rival, except now they do. It's Southern Miss and maybe South Alabama. It's not ULM. It wish it would be, but it's not. The Southern Miss thing is the real rivalry, whether it is football, basketball, or baseball. I'm not sure how good they are in softball, but that's what it really is. All right. And if South Alabama could be a rival, and they've, been playing, it was certainly rivals in baseball. South Alabama hasn't played football all that long. But that's what it is. And you don't want to ruin the rivalries out east either, right? All those teams came in basically together, right? Old Dominion and JMU used to play each other. Coastal Carolina and ODU used to play each other. And Marshall has rivalries in the conference. And that's what you want to build, because that's how you fill up stadiums. It's not just the home team. It's the away team bringing not a couple hundred fans, but a few thousand fans. Now, bad example with, the Tulane game against the Cajuns, which had a big crowd despite the, hot temperatures, at least at the beginning of the ball game. It's only half a stadium right now. So maybe a little bit more than half a stadium, but, I would think Tulane would have a little bit more access to more tickets, the next time they came, should they ever decide to come back. And that is, what an easy ball game for the Cajuns and, UL to play on the Cajuns and the Green Wave to play on a regular basis, right? Like LSU won't play those two teams on any kind of basis. Meanwhile, regular basis, it's easy on travel. It's just really economically sound to play that something like that on a regular basis. And so it appears that Texas State is staying because I'm not sure if the benefits are, if they join the Pac-12 and Utah State is about, I did the map directions, over 1,400 miles away. Texas State to Conway is about 1,300 miles away. I didn't do what it was to Huntington, West Virginia. That may be farther. But, nothing is really all that close where Texas State is joining. They're going to be an outlier wherever. If we can get another Texas team in the Sun Belt, and again, I don't know why UTSA would join the Sun Belt unless that conference started falling apart. So we'll see. It does feel like the Bobcats are sticking around. I think Keith Gill has done a good job. It'd be nice if he was being a little bit more proactive and not just waiting for the chips to fall where they may. Of course, we don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes at all, except that he's trying to get everybody to stick around. And so far, so good, right? But he always seems to wait, right? That was even in 2023 when I went to the Sun Belt Media Days in 2024. No, we like where we are. We're not looking to expand. And then he always says, if something happens, we'll react. Well, why not be a little bit proactive? Why not make something happen to make your conference more solid by adding 2 or 4 more teams and like I said, just making it more solid, whereas people don't want to leave because, I don't know if you saw the rant, but the Carolina guy, he's like, what's up with the Sun Belt teams, right? They weren't happy with what happened last year at App State or against App State. And obviously this year, Carolina gets blown out at home to JMU. Everyone thinks that Coach Mac Brown is going to retire. He didn't want to play App State anymore. That was also at home. Those games are tough for those coaches. I remember, I don't know if I said this. I remember Mark Hudspeth not liking playing McNeese whatsoever. It wasn't the idea of he didn't like to play, McNeese on his face, but it's a game you're supposed to win. It's a game you have to win. You're supposed to win by a lot. It's a no-win situation, basically, is what it is. If you don't win by a lot, they come after you. And if you win by a lot, you don't get congratulated, right? And if you lose, God forbid, it is big trouble. So we'll see if Keith Gill can be a little bit more proactive in getting some teams to join the Sun Belt instead of waiting for teams to be poached. So far, nobody's been poached so far, but this is being recorded at just around 5 o'clock Eastern time on a Tuesday. Things move fast. We'll see where it ends up here in a couple of days or maybe a week. But I'd like to see some teams join the Sun Belt than reacting to teams maybe leaving. That's what I would do. So, all right, let's take a time out. I do want to talk about the coaching carousel. Nothing's happened yet, but I do have this. I just wonder what's going on and how teams look at it from a coaching hiring point of view. All right, we'll do that when we come back after I tell you about Roy. It's time to highlight my Roy Player of the Week. Roy is a new platform that lets fans make contributions directly to their favorite athletes. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter referral code LOCKEDON, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. This week, we've selected JMU quarterback Alonzo Barnett III. Because, JMU hammered Carolina, and he threw for 5 touchdowns, ran for 2. That's a grand total of 7. That'll work. I'm giving Alonzo Barnett $100 on Roy. If you were impressed as we were with his performance on Saturday, you can show him some love too. Just hop on Roy and throw in a few bucks. If everyone pitches in just $10, it adds up fast for Alonzo Barnett III. Now you have a chance to show your appreciation for Alonzo Barnett III and his standout performance this week, as well as what he'll continue to bring JMU. Get off the sidelines and in the NIL game with Roy. And LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit the other job leading sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire, but know it that 2.5 million small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. I do want to have this kind of conversation with the coaching carousel already. No one has been fired yet, right? So Billy Napier at Florida, former Cajuns coach, seems to be on the hottest of all hot seats. Does come off of a win over Mississippi State, and Mississippi State is another conversation as well. So here we go. And we talked a lot about this in the offseason, right? When Kane Womack ends up at Alabama, probably special circumstances. It's his friend, Kalen DeBoer, but I also don't think Kalen got his first choice as defensive coordinator. And so this is where this ball kind of goes, right? Like Florida is now not going to hire a G5 coach, right? Is that what's going to happen now? Is that ruined it because Billy has not done a good job there? So Alex Golish at USF isn't going to be a potential hire. John Summerall at Tulane won't be a potential hire. I find that fascinating if that's the case, because if it's not Lane Kiffin, where are we going? I don't know. Mississippi State went with Jeff Levy, right? And maybe I'll be first to tell you, I'm not as familiar with Mississippi State as some other places. And maybe, the cupboard has been bare since Mike Leach passed away, right? Tragically. They tried to stay within the program and made a hire, but that coach, threw out the old offense and brought in his own offense, and he was replaced by Jeff Levy, the Oklahoma offensive coordinator. And Jeff comes, with a lot of coaching experience, none, zero, zilch head coaching experience. And now he's 0-4. And so you wonder, and that's we talked about that. But Kane Womack is at the defensive coordinator for Alabama because I don't think he got a shot at the Mississippi State job twice. Remember, he did a really good job at South Alabama. They almost went to a bowl game his first year. Quarterback got hurt, some other injuries. Should have probably beaten Coastal Carolina, but didn't. But still won 5 ball games in his first year. Second year, they win 10 ball games, go to a bowl game, got blown out, I believe, by Bailey Zappi in Western Kentucky. But blown out at that point in time, and then comes back and has an absolutely disappointing, enemy befuddling season in 2023. Nonetheless, went to a bowl game and won that one in the home stadium, but wasn't getting the calls to be a Power 5 coach. So now not only does he get the money to go and coach defensive coordinator, maybe even co-defensive coordinator at Alabama, but now he's getting a lot of publicity, certainly seen more of Alabama's assistant coaches than we ever have before. Never seen those coaches out there when Nick Saban was it. He was it. They rarely spoke. I think they usually spoke like during spring ball and maybe the bowl game. And that was it. You never heard from Alabama coaches. Kane Womack getting a lot of publicity being the Alabama head coach. I do know that he was offered the LSU defensive coordinator job. Someone told me if it was all about the money when he took the South Alabama job, he would have been the LSU defensive coordinator if it was all about the money at the time. But that's when Ed Orgeron was on, thin ice, and he didn't think he was going to last very long. Also, he wanted to be a head coach, and he was one of the youngest head coaches in America, and he did a good job, and I don't think he got any bites to go be a head coach anywhere. How do you come off a 10-win season and not get your name out there at all? And again, tragically, Mike Leach passes, stay within the program, hire a coach, and then that didn't work out at all. And then hired Jeff Lebby. So I just find it interesting that, is Florida going to be tied to a Power 5 guy? Who are they going to hire? Right? Like Nick Saban's coming out and saying that program is behind the times, right? It's not just Billy Napier, right? There's a whole thing going on there that they're behind. Did Auburn hire the right coach with Hugh Freeze? And we talked about that with, Ben Moore in yesterday's episode. Hugh Freeze doing a great job recruiting, but those kids just got there and are coming. And they're not helping all that much yet, right? I'm not sure how much Cam Coleman has played at all, the talented wide receiver, because we've been banged up. And Auburn's offense looks antiquated. But he's still doing a good job recruiting. At least he was until he put his foot in his mouth. But that's not translating onto the field just yet, because that's going to take some time. However, though, in the age of NIL and portal, we don't have a lot of time. Napier's finishing up his third season in Florida. I think he swung and missed with the quarterback. He's lost some assistants. Corey Raymond went back to LSU. He lost Patrick Toney, who went to the NFL. And so I just wondering, the two different tracks, right? That Kane Womack did a good job and couldn't get a at the time Power 5 job, now Power 4. And he went to be a Power 4 coordinator, got more money for sure. But is he going to get more opportunities as the Alabama defensive coach than a head coach at South Alabama? And is Florida, blackballing is not the right word, but disregarding would be better. Any G5 coaches that are good, right? We're not going to go get the Toledo coach that, made, Mississippi State look bad. We're not going to get the Memphis coach, although they had an issue with Navy, right? I mean, there seem to be plenty of good coaches out there. But I just find that whole thing interesting. I'm not sure if I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm not sure if it's coherent or incoherent, but has Napier's experience at Florida ruin that for other G5 coaches? Did Kane Womack recognize that and left South Alabama for, I don't know if it's a demotion. It's certainly a demotion in title, but not demotion in stature or money. Well, we'll see how this goes. And we'll see. I presume Mississippi State stuck with Jeff Lebby. It is what it is. They've given him a lot of money, and they're paying off the other coach, and they got to stick with Jeff Lebby through, right now, thin and thin is the deal. All right, let's take one more timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up today's episode with the Week 4 betting lines. I did not do very well last week at all. The Sun Belt let me down. And if I knew this was going to be last week was going to be a bad week, because South Alabama, right, missed an extra point. That cost me. And Syracuse not only didn't cover, but lost on Friday. I just should have shut it down. I didn't. We'll take more swings this week. We'll get back in the game this week. All right, let's tell you about FanDuel, and then we'll do the Week 4 betting lines. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. So the only one I did do well on last week was JMU winning and covering. I missed on the Memphis money line a couple weeks ago against Florida State. That was bad. I missed betting on it. I wanted Memphis winning. Let's see what we got here. There are no early week ball games for the Sun Belt. You got James Madison at home taking on Ball State. It's 20.5. What do we make about James Madison? We'll obviously do more preview later on, but they, beating Gardner-Webb 13-6, and then, hammering Carolina with a 70 spot, scoring 53 in the first half. Ball State is 1-2. Got blanked by Miami, 62-0. Almost beats or lost to Central Michigan, but lost 37-34, and was competitive with Missouri State. They beat Missouri State 42-34. Still not sure what to do with that line. Texas State taking on Sam Houston on the road. That's an 8-point spread. Sam Houston wins over Hawaii, lost against UCF. They beat Hawaii. They beat Rice. They lost to UCF, beat Hawaii, and then hammered New Mexico State. So that's not an easy ball game for Texas State. 8 points on the road may be a lot. This game started out as, I think, a pick'em. Let's see if we can find that out quickly. Cajuns at Wake Forest. Wake is plus or minus 3. Let me see if we can find quickly the opening betting lines from this week. They came out. And those are line moves. Those are the biggest line moves. Yeah, the Cajuns are on that because I think it came out even. Oh, okay, here you go. So this is week 5. I didn't take the week 0 deal. So again, I thought it was even. You want to give me 3 points in the Cajuns? I'll take it. All right, I will take it. That I'm still a little bit fired up that Cortland Flowers did what he did, and that it is what it is. All right, we got to move on. Let's see if this has come in here. Opening lines were pick. It was a pick 'em. Now it's a 3-point spread. Cajuns have a shot at taking down Wake. I like that because no one thinks it's going to happen. All right. Big ball game for App State. Sean Clark playing for his job. Liberty is -3 on the road at App State. Can App State bounce back from what was a thrashing against South Alabama? You do have that showdown in Atlanta. Big spot for both teams. Georgia State 2-1, Georgia Southern 2-2. Clay Helton playing for his job. It's been an up and down season for Georgia Southern. Missed opportunities, and haven't played very well against the big boys, to be honest with you. Right? They put up a lot of points against Boise, but the defense couldn't stop anything. And then, well, Ole Miss isn't fair. They may be one of the top teams. They may be the best team in the country. We'll have to wait and see. That is a Georgia State is favored by 3.5, and as Ben Moore said, that thing has swung from Georgia Southern favored to Georgia State favored. Marshall is home against Western Michigan. See how many quarterbacks or which quarterbacks are playing. Marshall is a 3.5-point favorite. This is a tough spot for Old Dominion. They're 0-3. They're taking on Bowling Green. Bowling Green is a 9.5-point favorite at home. Bowling Green is beating Fordham. They gave Penn State all they could handle, they lost by 7, and they gave A&M all they could handle, losing 26-20. This is a tough spot for ODU on the road. And you got a big matchup, Monroe and Troy. Monroe coming off the loss to Texas. Offense has been struggling. Troy with a nice win over Florida A&M. Troy favored by 7. Over-under is 45.5. You may want to take that one. That one maybe. If this game gets in the 20s, I'd be surprised. If this game got in the 20s, that would mean there were a few turnovers. And 7:45 SEC Network, LSU hosting South Alabama homecoming for Major Applewhite. Very cool. Major Applewhite played high school in Baton Rouge. He's trying to play it down. I don't think LSU's all that good for LSU per se. Should be better than South Alabama, but if South Alabama can run that football with fluff and they can't get a handle on Gio Lopez, South Alabama can score. And they got a pretty good defense. So we'll see what happens. That's a big ball game for everybody involved. And thank goodness it is at night. Should be an electric atmosphere in Tiger Stadium. LSU 22.5-point favorite. I lost on LSU last week. I'm taking South Alabama, and absolutely going to take a flyer on that money line because what the heck. All right, thank you so much. We are, at the time of this recording, right there at 1,500. We were 1,498 when I started to record this. That's the amount of subscriptions, number of subscribers. Really appreciate it. We're almost there. We're having like the biggest month in Lockdown Sunbelt history. We're going to have over 13,000, maybe over 14,000 views, and that's because of you. So really appreciate it. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. I'm Dave Schultz. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. We'll talk to you again on a Thursday. You've been listening and watching Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day.